What does tomorrow hold? This is the question that Walt Disney asked as they created Tomorrowland.
You're listening to Castle Talk Radio. We're live on the airwaves with Becca and Jessica. Now let's jump into this week's episode.
Today, as we deep dive into Tomorrowland, we're going to talk about what there is to do there, as well as what little hidden details you might have missed. And we're going to talk about what we hope tomorrow holds for Tomorrowland. I'm Becca, the theme park tips gal, and I am one of the co-hosts here of Castle Talk Radio. Jessica and I have been enjoying our summer, and so we've been doing this solo series, and this is the last of our deep dives into the lands of Disneyland Park. And today I'm honored to be sharing about Tomorrowland. I'm going to go through each of the rides and then talk about the dining, and then we'll talk about a little bit of the hidden details and what we want for Tomorrowland in the future. So as you walk into Tomorrowland, you are greeted with the Astro Orbiter, which is a ride that is for all ages, and it is a circular ride, much like Dumbo. Now, one thing I will tell you about this ride is while it is like Dumbo, the vehicles are much harder to get in and out of. So those with bad knees, um, low mobility, that type of stuff may not want to ride. So just make sure you're looking at those ride vehicles and being honest with yourself about whether or not you can get in and out of them. There is no height requirement for that ride, and it is a standby only, so there is no lightning lane available for those rides. Now, much of the other rides in the land do have lightning lane. So if you want lightning lane, just a reminder that the best way to save on that is to pre-purchase lightning lane with your tickets, because if you purchase ahead, you lock in the price. If you wait to purchase until you enter the park each day, which is the other option, you will pay a dynamic pricing, which is based on how busy and how popular they think it will be that day. And you can get discount tickets by visiting our partners at getawaytoday.com/castletalk. And that will get you the special rates that are available for our viewers. Okay, as we continue and you're walking into Tomorrowland, on your left, you will see Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. And on your right, you'll see Star Tours The Adventures Continue. So we're going to start with Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear is a all heights ride. It is a ride where you're like shooting your Astro Blasters at targets, you're earning points. Again, no height requirement. It does offer a lightning lane. One great thing about this ride is it has an attraction photo that you get for free, and you email it to yourself at the end. So as you're exiting the ride, you'll see these screens people are lined up at. You go to those screens, check out your photo, and you can get those for free. You can email them to yourself, which is amazing. It's not often that there's a free ride photo, except for at Disneyland right now. All ride attractions are included with your ticket, which is something they have continued for the last few years, and we love that. Now, on the right-hand side, as you were walking in with Star Tours The Adventure Continues, this does have a 40-inch height requirement. It is a motion simulator ride with 3D glasses and effects, and it does cause motion sickness for a lot of people, myself included. I had not ridden this ride in years. I don't even know how long it had been since I'd ridden it last. I did recently ride it at Walt Disney World because I was making a motion sickness ranking video, which is something I do over on the Theme Park Tips Gal YouTube channel. And it was rough. It was very rough. So definitely take that into account and think about that when you're deciding to ride it. Like I said, there's a 40-inch height requirement. It does offer lightning lane. However, if you're, this is the one thing I love about Tomorrowland is in the morning, all of the rides except for Space Mountain are usually walk on if you're there within that first hour. So you may not need it for that ride, and you can either, be stacking lightning lanes for other rides, or you can ride it twice in one day that way by riding it standby and then coming back and doing the lightning lane later. As you continue on, down into Tomorrowland. The next ride is kind of far back, the other rides are, but the next ride is Space Mountain. Now, this is a dark roller coaster with space scenes around you. It is different than the one at Walt Disney World. A couple things are different. First, the tracks. The track of the Space Mountain at Disney World is much like the Matterhorn at Disneyland. That's not the track that we use here for Space Mountain at Disneyland. And also ours are seated side by side, which I think is great for those that are riding for the first time, maybe a little anxious. They can ride next to an adult, or if you're an adult that's anxious, a friend that feels a little bit more comfortable with the ride. There is a 40-inch height requirement, and it does offer lightning lane. Another fun thing about Space Mountain at Disneyland is during the spring when we usually have Season of the Force or Star Wars nights and those types of things, they do offer Hyperspace Mountain, which is a Star Wars overlay to this ride, and a lot of people love that. Continue around because we're going to finish out these rides before we go into dining options. You will come to Autopia. Autopia is very much a bumper car experience, even though it's not free ranging and you're not bumping the cars in front of you. It's because there is this track in the middle of the axle of the car is over, and so if you don't have a great driver, they will be bumping it as they go left to right, or you have a child like mine who just is like, I'm just not even gonna hold the steering wheel. Yeah, it's and I try not to ride with him as much as possible. So, um, it does have a 32-inch height requirement, and it does offer lightning lane. This ride does use gasoline for these vehicles, lots of fume smells, so a lot of people like to avoid it. I find that early in the morning is the best time because the vehicles haven't been running all day. So if you want to avoid those smells, that helps a lot, but still lets you enjoy that ride or suffer through that ride, I guess, if you have a child like like mine. Um, Also tucked behind Autopia, well, some consider it rides, some don't. We've talked about it in several of these land deep dives, is the Disneyland Railroad Tomorrowland station. So this is where it stops in Tomorrowland. You can hop on. What is fun about this station is if you hop on at Tomorrowland and you ride it to Main Street, you will go through the Grand Canyon and Dinorama area. I don't remember what its official name is. And right now it's not I mean, they don't list it on the app or anything. And so I don't have that in front of me. However, I will let you know that right now, as I'm recording this, that part is under refurbishment. You'll still ride the railroad through there, but you won't get to see the actual dinoramas or anything. It will be scrims with pictures on it that you go through. But hopefully when that reopens, it will be even better than it was before. Another station that is located in Tomorrowland is the monorail station. So you can hop on the monorail in Tomorrowland and ride it to downtown Disney, the other end of downtown Disney towards Disneyland Hotel, or you can take a full circle loop. Now, in Disneyland Resort, you do have to have a park ticket to ride the monorail because it has a stop inside the park. So whether you're getting on at downtown Disney or in Tomorrowland, you will scan into the park to do so. And it's more of a ride here than it is at Walt Disney World, where it's really a mode of transportation over there. Near the Disneyland monorail station, you will also find the one ride you do not want to be on if there is an earthquake, and that is Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage. And that is not because anything super bad, but you are in a confined space, dark. It's a little iffy for anyone who is claustrophobic. And you have to stay there because you're in the middle of the water, not so much underwater. The top of the submarine never really goes underwater. Sorry to ruin that magic, but you are underwater for most of the submarine, but you're in the middle. So they can't get to you as easily to get you out. So until the system's reset, you would be there, or until they decide it's going to be long enough that they need to come and evacuate. And I don't even know how they evacuate people from there, but I'm sure there is a way. With the submarine voyage, getting down in there are very steep, narrow stairs. So that are plus size, guests that have bad knees, and also, like I mentioned, claustrophobia, this may not be the ride for you. But if you do want to experience Finding Nemo submarine voyage and you cannot or do not want to do it in the submarines, there is a alternate viewing experience that you can use. You go to the exit in order to get to this, and you let them know that that is what you were looking for, and they'll bring you into a room, and in the room is themed, and then there's a screen, and they will project everything that you would see looking out the submarine portholes will be on that screen so that you see that, and you have the same audio and all of that kind of stuff. So it is a great alternative if you want to experience that but can't or are not in favor of going into the submarines. All right, so now that we've covered all of the rides, let's talk about the dining. There are two dining options as far as meals. There are like churro stands and other things in Tomorrowland, but for dining options, you have Galactic Grill, and that is like your typical like burgers and fries, and I think there's some wraps. They do have seasonal stuff there quite often. It does offer mobile order, so you can mobile through the order through the Disneyland app, and it also offers standby ordering as well. There's lots of seating in this area. In fact, the seating wraps around to the sides. The other dining option is Alien Pizza Planet. So another Toy Story themed location here. And you'll know this one because it will have the Toy Story rocket, the Pizza Planet rocket right outside. As the name suggests, it does serve pizza, but it also does serve pastas and salads as well. I used to recommend this as a place to go fill up your water bottles because they have fountain drinks, and they had, the ice dispenser, and you could get your water bottle filled in there. But they have stopped allowing guests, as of my last visit, to go in there to fill their water bottles unless they have purchased food as well. And they are now directing guests to go to the Galactic Grill, ask for a cup of ice, and then use the water refill station there. I do not like the water refill station at Galactic Grill that's actually there. I don't feel like that water is filtered. So I do prefer the one that is near the exit to Autopia, that's an actual like tower refill station. Just a little extra there for you. So now that we've covered the main attractions and dining in Tomorrowland, we need to have a chat about this land, because this land is called Tomorrowland, but it's kind of like in Back to the Future, how the second one, where he comes to, like, I think it was like 2015, and there's flying cars and like all these hologram things that happen for communications, and there's flying hoverboards. And here we are, more than a decade past when he traveled to, and we have none of that. And that's how Tomorrowland feels. It feels like it's all the things that they thought would happen. And you know what? Even now that I'm thinking about this, even less so. Like, the only thing that seems even somewhat futuristic about it is the monorail, right? That the monorail, they thought this would be a way that we get around. And it is in a lot of places as well now. They do have monorail systems, but nothing else really feels futuristic about this land and doesn't feel like Tomorrowland. So D23 is happening this weekend, where they make a lot of announcements for the parks. Jessica, my co-host, she is going to be in the room where the announcements are made. She will be doing a podcast episode for you guys about that will go live next week, I believe, after it happens. And here's the thing. Everyone wants some Tomorrowland love given here, right? I don't think it's going to happen, just because of the fact that they have so much going with the Disneyland Forward project. But I would love to see some announcements. And here are some announcements I'd love. I'd love to see something announced about the People Mover. So the People Mover track is still located in Tomorrowland. When you go in and you're in that spot where you have Buzz on one side, Star Tours on the other, there's like this center like awning thing, and people think it's just there for shade. No, 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 no. Those are the old People Mover tracks. The People Mover closed in the 90s, made way for Rocket Rods, which was a fever dream and a total disaster. I got to ride it. It was not good. But the Rocket Rods replaced the People Mover. It was supposed to be faster, but it would have to like come to nearly a stop to take the corners, and because it wasn't built to be a fast ride, the tracks weren't. Anyways, the rocket rods damaged the track, and so it just sat there. People really want to see that restored. I would love to see it restored. The People Mover is one of my favorites in Walt Disney World, and I wish we had it back at Disneyland just because it's should be called the People Eater because it just eats up some of those crowds, and there's usually no wait because it's just continuous. So would love to see that come back. But there are spaces here, like I don't expect to hear too much about the rides. We do know that eventually Autopia is going to become all electric vehicles, so we might get an update on that. But other than that, we don't see many things in the future ride-wise. However, there are some spaces in Tomorrowland that they could announce stuff with, and I'd love to see that. So we have Star Wars Launch Bay. This is the circular building. It was originally Carousel of Progress, and then America Sings, and then it was the House of Innovations, and then it became Star Wars Launch Bay. They could do so much with that space and that big area. It does house right now the DVC lounge area, and it does also host the Tomorrowland Terrace fireworks and dining thing that they have, which is not as good as the pre-closure version. Thank you very much. Bring back the comfy couches, bring back the dessert trays, please. But anyways, moving on from that little rant. That's a large space they could do something with. And with this, I would love to see them bring back something like innovations, something that really leans into what could be in the future. The other space that is very underutilized, and I say underutilized, I was going to say not utilized, but they recently did put a little something in there, is the Captain EO Theater. Are you guys ready for my little rant? Because this is my little rant. Disney really missed the ball this year. Captain EO, if you don't know what it is, search it up, as my kids would say. And it is the most amazing fever dream. I've used this twice now in this episode. I understand the word fever dream, but it, it was just so unique and so awesome. It featured Michael Jackson. And so this is where they totally missed the boat. That theater had sat empty since like I think 2019 when they had the Onward previews in it. And they did just put some previews or shorts or something in there right now. But the Michael biopic came out this year, and they missed the opportunity that they should have taken to bring back Captain EO. I don't know, maybe it's something with Michael's estate that they have to like make some negotiations. Not sure, but that is an opportunity that was completely missed because I don't know about you guys, but my kids are walking around singing Michael Jackson songs, doing his dance moves, giving us a little hee hee all the time like he's a brand new artist that they've just like discovered because of the Michael biopic and people showing parts of it on shorts and reels and TikTok. And so they missed a big opportunity there. That said, I think something needs to be done with this space that's a little more permanent than just showing previews or trailers or snippets of movies that they have out. They really need an attraction there. They need to bring back more of these weird spaces that they used to have and live entertainment and shows and things like that to help eat up the crowds in Disneyland. That is something that's important. And with D23, while I doubt we're going to get any Tomorrowland announcements, Tomorrowland definitely needs some love. So things I would love to see is either them revamp the land entirely, which I doubt will happen, to make it more of thinking about our future, or they need to really lean into that retro version of Tomorrowland. And I think that even means like being a little before Star Tours and before Buzz Lightyear. I'm not saying those should leave, but the theming of the land really needs to feel like, hey, remember when you were kids and you thought about like space and living in space and all of those types of things. Because right now, nothing in this land feels like tomorrow. And that's where the problem lies. It doesn't fit the name anymore. So that is why you will hear a lot of Disney adults and Disney podcasters and people that are really into the parks talking about what they want to see at Tomorrowland, how they would retheme it, what they would get rid of. It's not that there isn't a love for the nostalgia, it's that it doesn't fit the theme anymore. And so if you're going to be Tomorrowland, be talking about tomorrow. If you want to be a retro version of Tomorrowland, you've got to lean into that retro theme. And hopefully, while I doubt we'll get any huge announcements, maybe Tomorrowland will see a little love announced at D23.